So everybody who doesn't know who Ray is, he's been my home inspector for all my deals since I've been working. He is literally the person that I can blindly, just trust, and I know that he'll give us the best advice. And the best advice is not always just to make sure that your deal happens. The best advice from a good home inspector is options, right? Every house you can make a deal work if you have the right connections. And Ray seems to know, from insulation people to plumbers to, I have had a situation with Kitech plumbing. I've had a situation with extremely bad insulation in the ceiling and roof. And every time my clients have decided to purchase the property because of the ease of what followed, and how we rectified the problem prior to closing. And trust me, those were houses that if they were in the market still looking, they would have spent, I don't know, $500,000 more on each of those properties. Each one of them, I don't know whether Ray, you remember or not, but one of my young clients, Suki, had bought a unit in Lisgar. It was a detached house, guys, a year and a half ago, and we had gotten it for her for $660,000. Imagine a Lisgar detached house,
Yeah.
4 bedrooms. That would not have happened. That's not happening anytime. I don't know
No.
when, if ever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and he's the person who we turn to even when he's not done a home inspection and he still follows through. I've called him on weekends, on Sunday mornings and Saturday mornings when my realtors have called me and I've not had the answer, and I've directed them to Ray. I know Patricia just logged in, and Patricia's one of them. And Ray has been very helpful throughout. So I'll let Ray take the floor and tell us a little bit about his company, himself, and then his advisors, and we'll carry on with our conversation.
All right. Well, thank you, Sabiha. That was quite the introduction. So yeah, my name is Ray Zammit. I'm with Housemaster. It's the Mississauga office, the owner of the Mississauga office for home inspections. As Sabiha had mentioned, we've had a very long relationship with Sutton Group. We're going into our 27th year with Sutton Group. My own background, while I was in house construction, in everything from designing, site supervision to project management, contract management. That was my other life before I started the home inspection business. So I have a pretty solid background in home inspections. I am an engineer, a U of T graduate. So yeah, my experience is definitely housing. So when I started the home inspection business, it was an easy fit for me to proceed in this. What we're going to be talking about today is, you guys know what the market is like better than I do. And it's very much a seller's market, and buyers today are taking all the risks. And there's constantly being asked for ways of protecting buyers in this very, very difficult market. And I'm going to be proposing 5 different options that you have, and no one option will work in every single scenario. But I just wanted you to know that there are different options, and you would pick and choose what works for you, if any of them. So in this type of market, what works best, I feel, is a pre-inspection. A pre-inspection is a full inspection of the house that is offered by the sellers. The sellers would hire us. We would do the full inspection, provide a report. The report is electronic, so it's easy to forward on to prospective buyers as a PDF. It's very, very effective. It eases the buyer's concerns. It tends to make them a little bit more confident in putting in an offer on a house, because at least they know what they're getting, good or bad, but they know what they're getting. With a pre-inspection, the sellers always have the option of just disclosing the condition. This is the way it is, as is, take it or leave it. Or they may decide maybe there's some serious issues in there that they may decide to fix before putting it on the market. Totally up to them. But by doing so, you have a better product, and a better product tends to fetch a better price. So pre-inspections are very effective. They work. Buyers love them, but not every seller wants to do them. Another option is
Ray, could you put some light on what the pros and cons of a pre-inspection might be?
okay. Honestly, I don't feel there's any cons to it. The pros are the seller has the option of fixing any of the serious issues before the house goes on the market. Maybe there's a roof leak, maybe there's mold in the attic. Mold is that 4-letter word that can really freak out a lot of buyers. So it gives the seller the option of correcting these before the house is actually put on the market. Perhaps he doesn't want to do any of these issues. Well, it gives you, as the realtor, the option of reflecting the condition of the house in the price itself. That maybe there's a lot of issues here and maybe the price has to be adjusted slightly. Whatever the case, that's up between you and your client. Buyers will see a report on this house and it gives them confidence. Some buyers are reluctant to go into a multiple offer situation because they know they're going to waive their rights to an inspection. This will give some confidence to some buyers to go ahead and put an offer in. So pre-inspected homes tend to get a few more offers than uninspected homes because you are giving that confidence to buyers. Buyers know what they're getting. Buyers can always call us up and ask us, hey, Ray, what did you mean by this? What did you mean by that? We have no issues discussing it as long as the sellers are on board. So it just is a very good way of introducing the house, reduces liability, which is another issue I want to talk about later, because liability is going through the roof the past couple of years, but we'll talk about that a little later. So it really does become a win-win situation. The buyers are more confident, more willing to put in an offer. They know what they're getting, good or bad. Sellers hopefully will get a better price because they're getting more buyers interested. Maybe they'll fix these issues to make sure that there isn't anything detrimental in the house that may affect the sale. So yeah, I don't really feel there is a negative to this. We've done hundreds and hundreds of these and the program can work very well. An alternative to this, if you're not able to convince your seller of doing something like this, we are doing full inspections for the buyers before they put an offer on the house. So we're calling it a pre-offer inspection. This works very well. Again, the buyer has to take the expense and there's the risk of him doing an inspection and not getting the house. So there is that aspect of it. So that's the negative side of it. But what's happened, and this was very effective a little while ago, but not so much now because now sellers aren't giving buyers that 2 or 3 hour window that they were willing to do a few months ago. We're finding that that's sort of changing the past little while. That a lot of sellers aren't willing to give buyers that option. So sometimes they are, but not as frequently as
I feel in the last 2 weeks or week and a half, the situation is different.
Yeah, it is.
There is more room for that. And guys, I'll tell you something is that when somebody's sitting in an offer presentation and you are the one, and I've been like that in places where it's done a pre-inspection for me. The seller side has been more confident to work with me because they know that I've already done an inspection. We take it very lightly, but the clause that we put in where it says all shackles and fixtures in good working order, right? We all think that, oh, it's the 5 appliances and they just need to be working. And there's no inspection put into this agreement of purchase and sale. As buyer agents and as seller agents, we need to understand that that's a very serious clause. And if you're doing a PDI, which you should be doing with your client the day before or 2 days before, right? I had actually the flip side, and it was really funny because the lawyer representing the purchaser, the listing was mine. The lawyer representing the purchaser was no other than Corman's, right? And it was Jonathan. And I got a call at 11 p.m. on my cell phone from Jonathan, which is not good, knowing people so well. And he said, there is a drum leak in the washer. The fans are not working in the bathrooms. The kitchen, because it was a rental property, my client did their best in cleaning it up, but there were things that were overlooked because they never even bothered to check whether the appliances were working or not, hoping that the renter tenant would have pointed it out to them, right? But the clause there that the shackles and fixtures should be in good working order, make it so we had to do a whole bag of funds on closing date. The closing was the next day. It was a hassle. My client was traveling. It was not easy to deal with. We did deal with it. But remember that just because someone not put an inspection clause in it, you're not free and clear of the house being, it's not an as-is condition because you've put in that clause or your client has signed on that clause which says all shackles and fixtures in good working order.
If I can just add to this, Sabiha, from our perspective, just realize this is all coming from a home inspector's point of view.
Mhm.
Have seen more requests to provide a professional opinion for legal action in the past, I don't know, 6 months. I probably had more requests in the past 6 months than I've had in the past 20 years. Buyers are buying these houses with their fingers crossed. They're waiving conditions. They move into these homes and they feel they've been hard done by. They've been misled. They've been mistreated. And they're calling their lawyers and they're asking us to provide a report to further their case. This is not a part of the business that we go after. We don't want to do this sort of stuff. But it just goes into what you're saying. There is a liability risk of not having an inspection. I mean, you may do everything right, but that doesn't stop you from getting dragged into a situation. If the buyers ends up selling the sellers, you may or may not be dragged into it, whether you like it or not, whether you did everything right or not. So there is that element of risk that I'm seeing more now than I ever have in my career.
Yep.
So anyways, I didn't want to be a downer, but you brought it up and this is a reality.
No, it's important for everybody to know what they can be faced with, right? This is what makes you prepared. Information, knowledge that's our job, is to hand out to our realtors, and
that's
not a
what
bad.
we're trying to
Yeah,
do here. Yeah, it's
we're trying to
trying to give
protect
you
everyone, right? What's this session
exactly.
called? How to protect your buyers, and in term all the agents that are servicing the buyers, right?
So we talked about a pre-inspection done by the sellers on behalf of the buyers, disclose the condition, make it open to everybody, give the buyers confidence. We talked about doing a full pre-offer inspection for the buyers. That's becoming difficult, but not impossible. We're still doing them. There's also a partial inspection that we can do, and be careful with this one. We do a lot of 1 hour inspections. And what we've developed here, because obviously like a home inspection typically takes 2 to 3 hours, 2.5 to 3 hours to do a full home inspection. So a 1 hour inspection is not the same. You're not getting everything. So what we've done is we've created a package where we will inspect 3 major systems of the house in that 1 hour. It's not everything. You're not giving the buyers 100% confidence. But perhaps they're buying a house and they've been told the furnace is brand new or the roof is brand new. So you have a little bit of confidence that those systems will be okay, but maybe you still want to check the attic, the electrical, and the foundation, hypothetically. So we'll come in and for 1 hour and do a full inspection on 3 major systems of the house, provide a written report. So it gives the buyers some confidence. Again, it's not 100%, but in this type of market, it's better than zero. Be careful. We get asked almost daily to do a 20 or 30-minute inspection. We don't do them. I know there are a lot of guys that will do a 20-minute inspection. They'll do it verbally. They won't put it in writing. Honestly, that's very dangerous for the inspector, for the buyers, and for yourselves. You can't do a 3-hour inspection in 20 minutes. Just because it's not in writing doesn't mean that you've given up any risk of liability. The buyer is still going to be using the inspector's information to help make the decision as to whether to proceed on this house or not. So whether it was written or not, there's still an element of liability there. And doing a 20-minute inspection means it's not a very thorough inspection. So be very careful with that. You don't necessarily want to be dragged into a situation that could come back to bite you in the future. Of course, we are still, believe it or not, doing buyer inspections. There is the occasional house, and not a lot, but the occasional house where you're actually able to put the condition of home inspection in there because you haven't run into multiple offers. Unfortunately, this is not the norm today, but as I mentioned before, we are doing buyer inspections. It does happen, just not as frequently as we did prior to this market. And then the last type of inspection that we've been doing and growing in popularity, like this has now become the bulk of our business, is we're doing inspections for buyers after they purchase the house. Sometimes before closing, sometimes after closing. It all depends if the sellers are cooperative or not. But we are doing these all the time. People still want to know what they bought, what the risks are, how to maintain it, how to take care of their house, set their priorities. We're gonna renovate the kitchen, but I don't want to spend the money on the kitchen if I've got mold in the attic and my basement's leaking, that sort of thing. So we are doing a lot of those type of inspections. They don't always go well. I'm not thrilled to do them because sometimes they go smoothly, everything is fine, and sometimes it doesn't. And it does create a lot of stress for the buyers, a lot of emotion. And as I mentioned earlier, sometimes it results in legal action that they really feel they were purposely misled, and they get really angry and start talking to lawyers. So it's not an ideal situation, but we are seeing more and more of this. So those are basically the 5 different scenarios where you can get some protection for the buyer. It's not 100% in most cases, but it's a good starting point. I think that's the best way for me to put it. And you guys have any specific questions, any ideas or personal experiences?
Yeah, I just wanted to find out. So, what is how many times do you actually have people that are have purchased the house already, moved in, and decided to have a home inspection at that point? Not just to get out, you obviously there's no point in there's no getting out of that deal, but to figure out, to understand their house a lot better.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
To see if there's any discrepancies that they need to take care of right away.
Exactly.
Because I feel like buying a house these days and actually getting a house is like winning a lottery,
It is. Yeah.
right?
People feel that way. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's it's financially anyone who's able to put a foot in their in the door, whether as a home for themselves or an investment, it is literally you're talking about something that is going to be making you 20-30% on not just your investment but also borrowed amount. Right? You're borrowing money on 1.7, 1.75 interest rates, and you're making something like 30% on it annually. right? It's literally like winning a lottery. So I know what the feelings are, what the emotions are, but at that point, I mean, this is just a thought, is that wouldn't it be great to just have an home inspection after you purchase the house to really know a checklist of, okay, slowly but surely we're going to fix this house, and understanding that we've got this house at this point, but in the next 1 year we can kind of, bat out two of the things, and the year after we can bat another two of the
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
What do you think
So
about that?
it's what you said is bang on. That's exactly the rationale behind doing these types of inspections. It has become the majority of the inspections that we do today. We do more inspections for buyers after closing than before closing. That's how the marketplace has flipped. And it's exactly for the reasons that you mentioned. It helps to set priorities. Where should I be focusing first? Is my roof gonna be needing replacement in 10 years or 2 years? Is my furnace about to die, or do I have 5 or 10 years left? It helps us set priorities so they can budget for these things. If everything is good, well, maybe we'll renovate that kitchen and bathroom, whatever
Mm,
their rationale is. So it's exactly what you're saying,
mm.
and it's become very very popular.
Right, right. I
We
mean,
couldn't.
not even just in the negatives of way, just the positive thing. Now I've got the house, let's take care of it.
Yeah.
Stan has a question. I know the answer for this, but I'm going to let you take this. Are appliances typically included in a home inspection report?
Okay, so every inspector has different standards. The OHI standards is no, you do not inspect any appliances. Some inspectors will do all the appliances. We at Housemaster do built-in kitchen appliances. So if they're actually attached to the house, we inspect them. So it's a
Yeah.
mixture of stuff. It depends who you're using.
So, Ray, you also have this absolutely wonderful thing that they actually, Ray, it actually checks on the appliances and registers the appliances, so that if there's and so if there's any recalls or any of that, like this is an experience I've had with Ray, that if there's any recalls or all of that, you get actually a report on your appliance. This year, this model.
Yeah, it applies to all appliances. You're not limited to the fridge and stove and dishwasher, washing machine. It's all appliances. You may want to register your car. You might want to register your TV, your furnace. It's a free service. It's all included in every single inspection that we do. And it will notify you immediately or in the future if there's an actual recall on that particular appliance. And since nobody knows you're the owner of these appliances, there's no way for you to be notified of these recalls. So this is a free service. It's included in every inspection. So it could be kitchen appliances. It could be your car that you register in there. Any major appliance. I don't think I would do my my blender and hand mixer, but any major appliance you could register in there.
Mm, mm.
I'm getting
Stan saying, if the buyer would like to do a home inspection report after the deal is done and before the closing date, then why would the seller allow entry to do that if it's not written in the offer?
well, it has to be written in the offer. The sellers have to agree to let them in to do an inspection. The inspection is going to take 2 to 3 hours. So if the seller agrees, then we do it, and we're doing them. Some sellers are okay with that. The house is firm. It's sold without any condition on inspection and finance. But you know how you sometimes put in, we'll have 2 or 3 visits to the house. Well, they'll say you'll have 2 visits plus allow us to do an inspection prior to closing, knowing full out that they have no recourse. We're doing them. This is why I'm giving it to you as an option. It works for some people. It doesn't work for all scenarios.
Yeah. So, Stan, sometimes the sellers will be apprehensive of letting you do
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
If
absolutely. They
if
do.
you are not putting it as a condition, right? It's a visit. It's just like an appraiser coming in, right? We put that repeatedly in our offers, that for mortgage appraiser to come in, it's not for the fact that you have a mortgage condition, but an appraiser has to come in because a mortgage has to be approved from some bank at some point, right? So it's similar to that. A lot of sellers would not, because they will think that you will have buyer's remorse after you've actually
Yeah.
had a home inspector go in. So they will not be that happy in doing so. So I mean, this is why I was thinking that maybe even after the closing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it can be talked about by you as a realtor, because I feel like if we are constantly making our buyers feel that we've got them and we've got their backs and we are helping them out with the house, all associations with the house should be with you. Just because the deal is done and we've gone our way with the commission, and the clients aren't feeling that we are still connected with the house, actually that hurts us in our business. So it's a really great thing if we can actually talk to them about it, that we can do a home inspection later and we can figure it out. And even maybe talk to your home inspector and say, can I get a rough idea? The furnace wasn't looking that great, or the roof wasn't looking that great. What do you think? Is there someone I can get in touch with? And then they can come in, the home inspector, and actually give you a great idea about when the roof may need to be
Yeah.
changed,
Yeah. No,
right?
it's exactly the way it works.
Yeah.
And it's for new homeowners, but it's also for experienced homeowners. We're doing them for just about everybody right now. There isn't one particular type of clientele that seems to be going to this type of inspection. We're getting requests from everybody to do the inspection after closing.
Mhm, mhm. What about condos? I'm always curious about this, Ray, that, whether, how important is it? I know when we are looking at freehold or we're looking at individual houses, we always think of getting inspections done. Uh, when I've ever done a condo, I think I've barely ever gotten a home inspection because I'm totally relying on the status certificate. What do you think about that? Like, how important is it to actually get a condo inspected?
Well, we do quite a few condo inspections every week. Uh,
Mm,
now, to be fully honest, if the condo is 2 or 3 years old, we do them, but the risk is minuscule. It really is. But if your condo is approaching 15 years, 20 years or more, we find issues. We find a lot of issues. Leakage from units above you, fan coil or heating systems that aren't operational, plumbing leaks, electrical that's been tampered with. Like it's just because the exterior is covered, but everything inside is your responsibility. As soon as you walk in through that front door, you own everything in there. So we still look at the windows, even though it's covered by condo, but you still want to know if your windows are leaking or not. Floors, walls, ceiling, is the unit above you leaking into your unit. We look at kitchens and bathrooms, just like you do in a house, you do in a condo. Do you have fixture damage, leakage issues, electrical issues? Is the exhaust fan working? And then you open up the electrical panel. If it's newer, almost always it's in good shape. Older units are sometimes tampered with. You have breakers that aren't working. You have people that have added extra circuits and they don't know what the hell they're doing. And then we run and test the heating cooling system. In most condos, most of the newer condos, let me preface that, most of the newer condos, you own the heating and cooling systems. Older condos, not so much. It's usually covered by the corporation. So if you're the owner of that heating system, do you not want to know its age, its lifespan, its condition? They're expensive to replace. It's valuable information. So yeah, to be it in a nutshell, we do condo inspections. Usually takes an hour, hour and a half, so considerably less than a home inspection. But they're done regularly and all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, I did a deal at 35 Marina Drive, and it was a penthouse unit,
Etobicoke?
looked
Yep.
immaculate. I didn't think of getting a home inspection done. But afterwards, when my clients moved in, I mean, and I had to go clean, but I could have done a pre-inspection. I had enough time because they were not taking any preemptive offers. And after that, I realized, I said, I'm never going ever going to let my clients buy without a pre-inspection, because I'm
Yeah,
careful like that, right?
yeah,
For me, it's you just I will find something else if this doesn't work out. There were so
yeah,
many things, like the fan was missing, like completely missing
yeah,
in one
yeah,
of the washrooms. There were like, and
absolutely.
there were small things which I think if my clients knew from before, they wouldn't have cared less and they would have still gone for it. But it's just that feeling, that feeling of like we're covered and we know exactly what we're going in for, rather than
It's
finding out later. It's just
peace
a
of
bad
mind.
taste in their mouth. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah, yeah.
peace of mind. Give them the option. If they definitely don't want it, then they don't
Mm,
want it. I mean,
mm,
you're just there to provide that information, that service, trying to protect their interests. You can never go wrong if you're protecting your client's interests.
mm-hmm,
You always
mm-hmm.
come on top if you're that type of person. You will always come on top if your goal is to protect your
Right.
client. Um,
I wanted to ask you, Patricia, I'll ask that question in a second. But I have a question to ask you. So with COVID, I'm sure all of the realtors have realized this, and of course, Ray, you must be knowing, a lot of people are going in for houses with swimming pools and hot tubs, or they're looking for bigger lots, where they can actually put in a hot tub and pool, because they thought they can't really go out and couldn't travel. I know that we're coming to sort of the tail end of that for now. The government has decided to just give up on this thing. But for from the point of view that for 2 years, so many people have bought houses with, like, basically that they can feel like they're at a cottage,
yeah,
right? Or they're in Cuba or whatever. So what are the, like, number one is like, how difficult is it to put in an electric system and all that to build a pool and a hot tub and all that? And how careful do people need to be in terms of how well the panels are done and all of that, going
it's
into a
okay.
deal with already something like that in the house?
Okay. So yeah, you touched upon a couple of different things. There are city bylaws. You got to make sure that you're able to do that. Not that there's going to be a bylaw that says you can't have a hot tub or you can't have a pool, but they usually will have setbacks. So if you have a very small backyard and you have to be 4 feet from the property line, maybe that isn't sufficient for the type of pool that you want. So look at the size of the lot, make sure your setbacks are decent, make sure there's no easements. Maybe there's a storm sewer running through there or a bell or hydro easement running through your backyard that will prohibit you from putting in a pool. So those are sort of the physical restraints of doing it. As far as electrical goes, depending on the size of the house, most homes with 100 amp service, and that's almost every house, is adequate to have either a hot tub or swimming pool. However, if you have a house with 100 amp service and a full basement apartment, and you're looking at adding a hot tub or a swimming pool, that might be a little taxing on 100 amp service. So there is a scenario where you may be looking at upgrading the service from 100 to 200 to give you enough power supply. So that's about the only scenario I can think of where 100 would not be adequate. And by far in most houses, 100 amp service is enough. Keep in mind today, a lot of people are also putting in car chargers. So that's another major appliance. So if you guys can kind of think of the rule of 4, if you have 4 major appliances in a house, 100 amp service is going to be adequate. So major appliance would be a stove, a dryer, an air conditioner. The last one could be a car charger, could be a sauna, could be a hot tub, could be a pool. 4, you could do it very easily with 100 amps. If you're looking at 5, you want a hot tub and a swimming pool, a hot tub and a sauna, or a car charger, whatever. You're most likely going to be looking at upgrading to a 200 amp service. 100 probably just wouldn't cut it.
Okay, interesting.
Okay, so that's a very rough general rule, but it's fairly accurate. So 4, you're good. 5, look at upgrading.
Okay, so let's sorry, I missed a couple of questions here. So Stan also asked what would be the rough cost for a condo inspection report?
Condo, if it's in the Mississauga area, if it's under 1,000 square feet, the fee is $325 plus tax.
Extremely reasonable. What issues may you find in a home inspection that will make you recommend not to go ahead with the deal? Patricia's asking this.
Okay, so Patricia, I don't think we've actually worked on a deal together. I would never recommend to my clients to buy a house or to not buy the house. I don't think that is fair for any home inspector to do that. And let me explain why. I think our role is to provide the condition of the house, the true condition of the house, the potential risk, the potential expenses associated with that house. And really the buyer has to make the decision whether that is an acceptable risk or not. I don't want to go in there and say, you've got a $10,000 roof that you got to spend right away, knowing that they are strapped for cash. How do I know he's not a roofer? How do I know his brother doesn't have a roofing company or their general contractors? How do I know he doesn't have a suitcase full of money that I'm not aware of? A home inspection is part of the home buying process, but it's not everything. I think it's very important, but it's not everything. So I don't really want to tell people, go for this house. This is an awesome house. You got to buy it. Or run, turn around, pack up your bags and leave. This is a horrible house to buy. I don't think that's really fair for any home inspector to do that. But we have to be accurate. We have to be able to tell them what the risks are, how serious they are. Are they minor? Are they typical? Are they very serious? Are they inexpensive? Are they very costly? I think we have to give them accurate information. And if they have good information, they will most likely make a good decision on the purchase of that house, whether to proceed or, sorry, this is too risky for us, we have to back out. That ultimately has to be their decision. It really shouldn't be the home inspector's decision. I don't know if I answered that well.
But Patricia, I just want to add a little bit to this, just because of my experience and my experience working with Ray. I have once or twice when Ray's been away on a vacation, something worked with other home inspectors that are very vocal about their thought that they know about really well about houses. They have set my clients so far from purchasing that they got out of the market. This has happened to me in Scarborough because of a home inspector. We could have gotten that house for them. It was a bungalow right next to the mall, $700,000. Those properties are selling for $2 million now. So the greatest thing about a home inspector is, and with Ray, I've had this opportunity where he will tell us the company to use. He will give us a rough idea of what the cost of this would be. When a client hears high-tech plumbing, when a client hears roof change, when the client hears, they think that, oh my God, this is going to be crazy expensive, not realizing that a roof can be changed for $4,000, $5,000. High-tech plumbing can be removed for, hundreds of dollars. That's it. And so if you actually have a home inspector that has a solution for the issue, it actually rationalizes it into a very small, it's not even a game changer, to be honest, right? Because look at the prices of the house. Your client is set back by a month of not getting into the market. Their 10% or 20% of down payment has just shrunk. The property values have gone up so much, so to be honest, as long as you have a very honest view of what is needed in the house, and you can actually help your clients get that issue rectified. And a lot of times you can have the sellers rectify it, because genuinely the seller would not know that there was high-tech plumbing in the house, and they'll fix it. They'll fix it before selling that house because it's worth it for them to go through with the deal, right? So just keep in mind that it's really you can, with a good home inspector, they can actually help you make a deal solidify, and not just solidify, help your clients go in with a very reassured feeling that they've made a good purchase. um Kelia is asking, hi Ray Sabia, is the broker remarks area on the listing the best place to list as is fixtures that is currently not in good working order on an upcoming listing? I have an coming next week, the fixtures in a hot tub that is remaining with the house as is in condition. Is this enough to cover my client? When listing a property, I've fully informed all the options to the seller, still insists not to get the inspection on the house, and I've checked as thoroughly as I can. Everything is in working order except for the hot tub. So she's
I'm not a
basically asking,
lawyer.
what's that?
I'm not a real estate lawyer, but I think if you disclose that it's not in good condition, you're covered.
Yeah,
Do you agree?
yeah. So Kelly, a hot tub is a fixture, right? Whether it remains on the property or doesn't remain on the property can be an understanding between the buyer and yourself. I had listing in Ovation. It's a Tridal building in Square One. I'm sure most of you know about it. It had Kitec plumbing. It was my listing. I actually had a Schedule B attached to my listing right off the bat, that there's Kitec plumbing and there's a special assessment on it for X amount of dollars. I had multiple offers. People signed off on it. It was great. On the flip side, I sold a bungalow to my client, a buyer client, where the seller didn't put anything in there. Ray went in there and we actually made the seller fix that situation before closing. So that, I think, is a latent defect. You need to let everybody know, if you're putting on a hot tub that it's in as is condition and you're clearly putting it, I don't think you need to put it on a schedule. Just make sure that when they put in hot tub in the shackles or fixtures included, they put in as is in condition, so that it's not covered by the shackles and fixtures in good working order. I would do that as a due diligence in the process.
Well,
I
one
would
thing,
also have someone come in, which would be an added thing, and give you a quote on what it would cost to fix the hot tub, right? And that way you can,
you're,
right, Trey?
you're always one step ahead of me. I was just going to mention,
Smart woman,
yeah,
smart woman,
you are.
crazy
A,
smart.
a lot of times, if we're doing an inspection for the sellers, and remember I said, sometimes you have the option of correcting these issues. Well, sometimes the seller doesn't want to spend thousands of dollars correcting it. So what you can do is get quotations to fix this major defect and have that available to prospective buyers. And the advantage of that is, one, the seller doesn't spend a penny. And two, if I come along and say, you've got a serious roof issue and mold in the attic, if you just leave it at that and a buyer sees this report, he's going to think, is this $5, $10, $20, $50,000? Like what, his mind will just go crazy. Unless you supply a quotation or two to show what a new roof would cost or what mold remediation would cost, and slip that into the report. And now they're arguing over that fixed cost. It's not hypothetical $20,000. It's actually $4,000 that they're got to wrap their heads around. So it's very powerful. It doesn't cost anybody anything, but it eliminates that emotional impact of a serious defect and letting their imaginations run on them. They'll know exactly what it's going to take, who's going to do it for them, and what it's going to cost. So it's very powerful. Sabiha, you're bang on again. Damn, you're smart.
Very smart. Yajneesh said something which I'm sure Ray has something to say about. Foundation leak is enough to break the deal.
Oh, not even close. Not even close. Oh my God. If it's a poured concrete foundation, which means built in the 1970s to today, so in the past 50 years, a foundation crack could be fixed anything from the inside for $500-600, from the outside $1,000 to $1,200. Take the worst case scenario, $1,200 on a $1 million, $2 million home. What the heck is $1,200 today? Like it doesn't even come close to being a deal breaker. To me, it's almost come down to regular maintenance. No, sorry,
It's
I
nothing.
feel
Yeah.
it is absolutely nothing today.
Yes, Ajnish, they come in with this foam thing. They, they literally put the little thing inside. They fill it with
Yeah,
foam
they
within the
inject it.
day, and you're set.
About 3 weeks ago, did a home inspection. They actually had a buyer inspection on this house, and unfinished basement, which I absolutely love because I can see everything. And there were 5 cracks in this house that had signs of leakage. The buyer just lost it. Like he just thought, oh my God, what am I getting myself into? He was stressing about it. He was pacing back and forth. Then I literally had to grab him by the arm, pull him towards me and say, hey, listen, let's talk about this. I estimated because of their location, some were inside repairs, some were outside repairs. I estimated about $4,000 worth of work in this house to give you a totally dry basement. He was spending 1.7 million on the house.
Yeah.
You know, when you put things in, you got to take away the emotion, give them a number. Now they got to wrap his head around $4,000. Not, oh my God, it's leaking. What am I going to do? How do I can give you 2 or 3 good contractors. This is roughly the price it's going to be, and you'll get a 25-year warranty. I said, you're going to have to wrap your head around a $4,000 cost. Well, he just calmed right down. Like you could just see it in his body language, in his face. $4,000 today, man, oh man, you know, it's almost pocket change when you're buying a house in these prices.
It's gonna sound like a sales pitch, guys, but honestly, like I have these gentlemen that I've worked alongside, Ray, Cormans, like I have learned so much over the years, and you feel so good with what you do. It's such a clean, great feeling going in with a team that is so phenomenally um, well versed in what they do. You know, I walk into a house with Ray, I know exactly what my client's buying, I know exactly what the costs of things would be. This is where your team comes in, and it doesn't break your deal, it makes your deal. And moving forward, your clients will feel the same way about it because their experience has been such. You know, this is not someone who's gonna BS because of, you know, trying to make your deal happen or try to cover up things. No, we are people who need to give solutions, right? And those solutions will make your clients go in and feel very confident about the purchases they're making. Patricia said, Kelly is asking if we have a contact for a hot tub or a pool guy to give a quote that may go into Brampton. Do you have anybody, Ray?
So pool guy to supply and install.
Yeah, for a quote.
Okay. Paradise Pools and Pioneer Pools are 2 contractors that we've recommended. That's for installs. Betts is another one, BETZ. And then I got a couple of guys that I would use for inspections, but that goes outside of what you're asking.
Mm-hmm. Maybe Kelly can reach out to you later.
Yeah, absolutely.
Patricia's asking, my buyers usually don't trust a home inspection done by the seller. In that case, do you recommend a pre-offer inspection?
Okay, I'm not
Hmm.
totally understanding the question. There is the aspect of the perception that if the seller is paying for the inspection, then it's going to be a biased inspection. And that could be the case. If you're getting an inspection done by a reputable inspector or reputable company, I don't think that is the case at all. It is our name that's on that report. We take the liability and the risk. So whether I'm working for the seller or I'm working for the buyer, I'm doing my best to give you an accurate picture of the condition of the house. So I don't know if that kind of answers your question or not. I think if you stick with a reputable inspector, a known company, I think you'd be doing very well.
Patricia, I'm gonna put forward another thought in your mind. So here is everybody buying houses without any inspection whatsoever. Okay? You on your listing have gone ahead, spent the money, had a home inspector come in and put something in documentation on the table. All of us know that if there is a latent defect in the house, right, it goes beyond fiduciary duties. Meaning you can't hide if there is mold in the house and you found that out, you as the seller's agent must inform all parties that are purchasing that house. This becomes your responsibility. You as a buyer agent need to be well versed enough in all of these rules and regulations that we have to follow as professionals, right? You and I are professionals in this industry. If we do have a latent defect in the house, we've hidden that. We've provided with a house inspection report, and we've not told the other people. You have a lot of problem on your hands. So you need to inform your buyers that this is how it works in your industry. Okay, this is what people might not want a pre-inspection done in their house because of. Having said that, sellers need to understand that they actually just protected themselves. Because if there was mold in the house, if they knew that there was mold in the house, that's a latent defect, and they did not inform someone about that, that's a problem. That's a lawsuit that Ray is talking about.
Yeah,
Is that right?
Oh, having an offer, having an inspection done on the house greatly reduces the liability of the real estate agent and the seller.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. If the buyer moves in and there's major issues with the house, the first person he's going to call is the home inspector. Without the report, the first person he's going to call is the lawyer to call the seller and real estate agent. So there is that liability aspect. If you're disclosing or you're trying to disclose, you're doing everything you can to be upfront and forward, to disclose the condition, the good and the bad. That greatly reduces your liabilities should something go south.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
This has been great, Trey, as always. Our hour has flown by. I'm looking at the watch right now. And it's always lovely to talk to you. I always feel so, enlightened after. It's like sun rays on my halo.
Right, all right.
It's lovely always to have a chat with you. And guys, Ray Zammit's information, anybody wants it, just text me and I can forward it. He's amazing, brilliant at what he does. And he is, Kelly. Kelly says Ray is the best inspector. I use him all the time.
Thank you,
He
Kelly.
totally is. He totally is. So thank you so
That
much.
cost me a lot for her to say that. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate the invite. Sabiha, always good to work with you.
My pleasure. Yeah. All right, guys. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.